didn't know you were. So, did your uncle or something own the sports?
No. So, but basically, I couldn't get hired anywhere, and then I finally got this one interview. I looked into the interview, and it was my old squash coach who was doing the interview, and he, you know, obviously he knew me, and he knows a good kid, and I like squash, and he loves squash, so I think he was a lot more willing. And I remember the interview went like, it was the first interview where I felt like I crushed it. You know what I mean? Like, you felt like you had like a great answer for everything.
Were you talking to your uncle?
No, my family member. I just had nepotism because I played for a squash team.
Oh, okay.
And so he but it was, the interview went with where I, like, every single question they asked, I crushed it. Vibes were immaculate. The thing, they're like, we can't hire this guy.
The vibes were immaculate.
Yeah, they asked me out for a drink after I was like 7. No, I was 17.
Like, that's incredible.
No, but it was like there was jokes. It felt solid. At least for me, this is like 17 POV, right? So as good as it could go for being 17. And then I started it, and then when I started doing lifeguarding, it was a lot. They kind of called me up one day, and they were like, "Hey, so there's this other sports center, and we just can't find anyone to work because the job kind of sucks." Okay, and they were like, "Yeah, and because you're already in our payment system and you've already done all the checks, if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of teach you how to open, close, look after the sports center."
This is a bad deal.
Yeah, it sucked, and then like, I was like, okay, sure, man, because I wanted extra money, because McDonald's paid me like 4 pence and a crumpet, and so I really wanted to get some like actual money, because I was going to university, and I wanted to save up money.
Is a crumpet pretty valuable?
No. And so I basically went to the sports center where during the day it was run by the school, and then at 4 o'clock it would be run by the council, and I would run it till 10 and then close up. So I would go up and it was already open, and then I would, you know, first time he showed me around, we went into the sports center. I go in and every door is key old, and it opens up, it goes like that. Okay, I'm like, all right, computer, and he presses the on button, he goes, and then Windows XP loads up.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah. No, Windows 97. Windows 97. Windows 97 loads up. And then he's like, oh yeah, so you're gonna, it's like fucking Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, yeah, you're gonna want to look at the system occasionally and just see what the bookings are. And so he clicks this Windows 97 spreadsheet, and then he clicks it, and we're waiting. And then I go to like click it again. He said, no. And I wait, and then 30 seconds later, the F opens up. Sorry.
That was fast for Windows 97, only 30 seconds.
And so I guess somehow there's this kind of system where it's being live updated with all the bookings.
Oh, wow.
So I could occasionally check and see if anyone booked anything. And more often than not, most nights, no one would book anything at the sports center. It was like, no one would use it.
Yeah.
So I would say like most shifts, it would be used. There was like a Wednesday night, there was a football team that would use the AstroTurf. Whatever I wanted, as long as I cleaned the place. And I locked up and took care of it. So
okay, you were behind the world's slowest car I've ever seen.
So they said like, hey, we know you're in sixth form, you're studying. It's okay for you to study in the office and do whatever work you want to do while doing the work, as long as you clean up, lock up, and do all that stuff.
So you just brought your Xbox?
Well, so I brought my laptop, and I did do work occasionally, but I mostly edited YouTube videos, because at this time I'd started doing YouTube, and I would edit the YouTube videos, and then I would clean up. So I would get in, I would wait, I would check everything, make sure it's all on, make sure everything's where it needs to be, because they would show me what to do, and then they would also, the main part was cleaning. I just had to clean. So that was kind of annoying, because I had to mop the whole place, and it's a big place, and I would have to clean the changing rooms. So that was.
Did you get a raise?
Yeah. I mean, I was counting out. Yeah, I mean, it was just, I didn't like that I had to, the scary part was terrified because there would always be like randomly like 1 or 2 cars that were.
Oh, so you'd be double checking, triple checking.
So I would see the cars and they'd be like, someone just left their car and parked and done something else. But I have to lock up at 12. But as long as they're not, not 12, at like 10 p.m. I just had to make sure they weren't in the sports center when I locked up. But the one thing that was always sucks is that sometimes chavs would just come in and they would just mess around in the AstroTurf, and I'd have to be like, guys, you gotta leave. Please stop messing around. I'm not gonna do anything.
What did you do then? Just let them fuck around?
Yeah, I just let them fuck around, and I hope they would leave.
You're just gonna keep editing your.
Okay, if they were there for too long, I would have to be like, all right, guys, seriously, can you please leave? Yeah, so many sheep.
So what time did it normally close? 10?
10, yeah. So it was like a 6-hour shift.
Oh.
And I would normally not have to do anything. But occasionally people would come in and ask me questions, and I'd be like, I'll be honest, I have no idea. I wasn't really well equipped to deal with people.
Management.
No.
So you went from slinging fries, saving lives, management.
Yeah, management was the worst because I think for me the most depressing part was I didn't get to talk to anyone.
Yeah, I had an overnight shift at a Prince shop, like FedEx Kinko's.
Yeah, it was just so sad.
So lonely. And it was from 9 p.m. until 7 a.m.
I mean, those jobs are like pretty good for like a year or 2, right? Where you're. I want to go in. I want to be alone. Stuff, they'd call up and they'd be like, my friends would be like, hey man, you coming to the party tonight? I'm like,
no, I'm making sure this one guy doesn't stay.
I'm making sure the
what a
and I always thought when there was no bookings, if maybe one day I could have gotten away with just locking up and leaving.
Should have done it. Should have tried it once.
I should have tried it one time, but I never did. I was too afraid. I just didn't want to annoy them because, also the guy who got me the gig, he was so nice, and he vouched for me. So I was like,
But you did them a big solid by taking a first job.
And occasionally I would get because all the other people who managed the sports center, because I would only do maybe 2 days a week, they knew that I was a student. So I'd get like 30-year-old Steve. He'd be like, Connor, mate, I got invited out by this fit bird. I don't know if he's Aussie.
Did you say fit bird?
Fit bird.
That means hot
very
chick.
attractive, yeah.
Got it.
Can you please come do the shift? And I'm like, I kind of want to grind COD though. I wouldn't tell them that. I'd be like, I can't.
Oh, that's sad.
Occasionally, I mean, it depends. If I wanted the money, I would do it. Depends how many matches I lost in RuneScape. So.
Well, waiting tables was always a delicate juggling act of switching schedules with anybody who.
Oh my god, it must have been a nightmare, right?
It's fucking awful because anything that comes up, or if you have an audition, the whole point of being a waiter is it's flexible.
Yeah.
But trying to call down the list of like, Ashley, hey, remember when I covered for you like 2 weeks ago? Can you cover for me this Friday? No. All right, bitch. I'm gonna remember that and she'll fuck off. And then you see her like the next day. And then you'll have to work your way down, and finally somebody's like, yeah, I'll do it, but you owe me 2.
That's kind of mean.
I mean, it's all.
And then when you covered him on the 2, the first one you'd be like, yeah, but you owe me 3.
Well, then he would always be the worst one back. You'd get like, well, I might ask for like a Wednesday night, which no one really wants to work, but then he'll be like, yeah, but you got to open for me on Saturday morning, when no one's going to come in, and you have to do all the prep work. But waiting tables was.
Someone said that they worked so many double shifts because people didn't show up.
That also was that's why I don't like opening.
That happened a lot of McDonald's. People would not show up, or they would show up and quit mid-shift.
Yeah, that happens
too. So often.
Yeah. Or the double shifts are. I think most waiters try really hard not to have. Usually, the more consistent regulars that come in. Waiting tables was fun though. It was fast work. You were really busy the whole day. You get to practice your Riz.
Isn't that what Connor did? No, I quit during a shift, but I finished my shift.
Oh, so
I said like I'm quitting. I'll still do the 4 hours there.
So you were kind of based. You were like, oh, well, you know what? I quit 4 hours.
Yeah, I didn't want to fuck them over. I just didn't want to work there anymore. I quit mid-shift, but then carried on working. Are you supposed to leave, or are you supposed to dramatically storm out?
Yes. Well, okay. Two choices. You can put in your 2 weeks notice, which is not fucking over. That's how you...
Well, no. So I did, yeah.
4 weeks?
Yeah, no, so I quit on the spot. I was like, I quit. I will finish my 2 weeks, and I'll finish the shift.
That is so cool.
Is it? I feel like that's stupid of me.
It's dumb for you to announce it. Like, I declare bankruptcy, it's like, you just quit and you say, hey, I just want to put in my 2 weeks. You can't, were you angry when you did tell them?
Yeah, because she was being horrible to me. The manager was so mean. She was so mean.
Okay, disrespected. I think you're totally in your purview to be like, you know what, I quit. And honestly, fuck you. You do my work for the next 2 weeks. And then you can take off your apron.
Yeah. I should
throw it in their face.
I should
do like a suck it motion, or you could be like, and then you bounce. And then when you're walking home, you bounce on it. Then when you're walking home, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was bad.
Well, yeah, my mum was even furious that I even put my 2 weeks in.
Yeah,
because I had 2 months till my lifeguarding job started.
That's funny that you quit and then still had to show up angrily.
Yeah,
like, I'm here, but I'm not happy.
That's basically what it was. People were very mean during those next 2 weeks.
Of course.
Yeah, they were like, wow, quitter, huh? I'm like, I'm still here.
Yeah, they're like, okay, put the fries in the bag. Just shut up. Oh, man.
I never did fries. That was above my pay grade.
That was above your pay grade?
Yeah, so the hierarchy I learned of, the shittest jobs at McDonald's is the grill master was, a coveted spot.
That was the fun one.
The guy who did the burger flipping was the guy. He was the goat.
They don't flip burgers anymore, I think. They just put them in
they don't. Yeah, it kind of sucks. But the burger flipper extraordinaire, I was never allowed to do the grill. I actually touched the grill once in my 1 year of being there. I was always, the first thing I was put on was on the deep fat fryer.
That's the worst.
Well, yeah, of course it's the worst.
It's going to spray and burn
it was terrible. It was terrible.
You're going to stink.
And so at my place, I don't know why they did this, all the women were on the front, and all the guys were in the kitchen.
Oh, you know what that is.
Yeah, well, because if I took your order, and they'd be like, oh, Gollum, anyone else? Do you got anyone who isn't fucking ugly? He's got so many pimples.
You wouldn't have had any if you were on...
And I had to come to the front like fucking Dobby and be like, could I have some water? You can't let everyone see what you look like.
That's so bad.
But so I was on the deep fat fryer, and I started learning during summer, and there was no the air conditioning was not strong enough for the deep fat fryer. And I remember they was teaching me, and he was teaching me the words, and I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He's like, when I say Sonny, I mean a McChicken, all right? I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's not fair. He gave you custom words.
Yeah, he had custom
lingo.
2
Sonnies.
Yeah, 2 Sonnies.
Blimpy.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. And they was fine, and I just got used to it, and it was whatever. I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't like being on but every single shift they did, I was on the deep fat fryer. And one time, we had this new kid in who was learning, and I had to teach him even though I was 3 months into the shift. But at this point, honestly, it's not hard to do it. And I remember I was like, okay, put the nuggets in the bag. I was like, you put the nuggets in the thing. So you know what another thing was they taught me? At this McDonald's, so we had a vat for vegetarian food. And then the guy was like, but if it gets super busy, the nuggies can go in there. And I was like, okay. All right, I guess, okay. All right, sure.
That's tragic.
Yeah, so if you've ever had vegetarian stuff, it's high chance it's been cooked in the same oil.
This vegetarian shit tastes just like the real thing.
Finally. So this kid, I was like, put the nuggets in, and he just, for some reason, he was a fucking idiot, this kid. He just fucking threw the vat in, and it splashed all over my hand. and my hand was covered in deep fat fryer oil. And I went to go and like, I was fucking dying, and I put it under the sink and I water on it. And after about a minute of having the water on the sink, one of the managers come in and he goes, "Hey Connor, what are you doing?" I was like, "This fucking guy put fucking oil on me." I didn't say that. I was like, "Oh, the new guy spilled oil on me." I was very meek. He was like, "Well," and he looked at his watch and he was like, "Well, all right, you got a minute."
Man.
He's like, "You got a minute to get back." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And you know, I'm like 16 this time. I was like, I was very. If somebody in a position of authority told me to do something, I would do it. You know, because that's just the way I was taught, right? That's the way I was raised. So I put it under the water for a minute, and it was not long enough. So I go back to the shift, and I'm still working it, and my hand starts turning pink. And it happened. It was getting pretty bad. It was all over my hand, like here, like all over, like here.
Yeah.
And so my hand had basically turned pink. And on my break, about an hour later, I was eating the food, and the manager came in and he goes, "What happened to your hand?" There's 3 managers. I don't know why there's 3.
Because one was incompetent.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, and then he goes, "What happened to your hand?" I was like, "Oh, well, the kid put the oil on my hand, and I didn't get. My other manager said I didn't have time to put it under the water." He was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I had to go back to work." He said. He was like freaking out. He's like, "What the?"
It's a lawsuit. You could have won.
Yeah. So he was like, "You know what? Put it underwater, and we'll go home." Yeah. I didn't know, and when I went home, I told my mom. She was like, "Oh, goodness heavens!" So then the next shift they were extra nice, just for like one shift.
Oh yeah, of course.
And then after shift at that, they were.
You know, you skipped all the fun part of working, where you find every advantage in your favor to do less work. That's like a hallmark of early employment.
Yeah, I mean, I did do that for sure.
You did your YouTube editing things, but
yeah,
I
missed out.
You missed the chance of putting like a fake guy at the sports complex that goes like this as you're out at a party, and then you come back and walk at 10.
Should have sued. I mean, I was like a 16-year-old kid from Wales. I think the last thing on my mind was, do I have a lawsuit here? But no,
How many? I mean, I've been taken advantage of at work countless times.
Yeah, luckily it here wasn't too bad, and I ended, when I got home, I ended up putting it on water and stuff. I don't know how much it helped, but.
Never even got to put the fries in the bag.
You can open it more if you want, sorry. Yeah, it's toasted.
It doesn't ever get plastic.
Yeah, I did never get to put the fries in the bag. But the one good thing was that whenever you got to make food, the fry guy would always give you the freshest fries.
Added the salt, a little extra.
Yeah, and we did get told off whenever we customized, but it was. Did you ever get told off for customizing?
No.
Oh.
Customizing, I think, when you work in the food service industry is the perk.
Yeah, but McDonald's, they fucked me.
It sounds like you quit at the 2 weeks. Just enough time to get out there and see your mistake.
Maybe.
When I worked at Chipotle at 25,
you worked at Chipotle?
Of course, man. I was a burrito press 1 block down from my high school. So teachers would come in, like you saw yours. Yeah, I'm a 3 million subscribers.
Yeah.
I was like, do you want a bowl or the burrito? And they're like, heat? I'm like, Phillips, actually. I have a family in Tidville. So at Chipotle, it was me and about 13 Americans. I really liked it because we got along really well, and they would always say, why are you always, before our shift had started, like, we all get to eat whatever we want after we do prep work.
Yeah.
And I would always just dutifully make my crappy 3 tacos. And he would, not just he, all of them would be like, you're not doing it right. You want to make a bowl, and you want to do all these extra toppings, and then the secret trick is you get an extra bag of tortilla chips. We'll throw in even a few extra. And then you have, like, not only just the bowl, which is just godlike that you made.
Yeah.
You use the chips to use instead of a spoon.
Yo.
And like, that's great. Any restaurant you work at, you go to the back and say, hey, can you hook me up with I want the cheeseburger sliders, medium rare, but can you add the queso cheese instead of I don't fucking care. They're like, yeah, you got it, buddy. And then you do that, like, customizing is The best. I made so many terrible tasting pizzas because I was like,
Gotta try.
Canadian bacon and anchovies mixed with onions and green peppers.
That sounds good.
It was, and then but I would have never ordered that. And then you double send it through. Cream cheese and pepperoni, not as good, but cream cheese was underrated.
Pete sharing the bountiful life experience. Pete, the scary thing about Pete is that he's worked like every job ever.
It's been a lot.
He wasn't even qualified to be a lawyer, but he did practice.
That was a fun era. My favorite, though, is I did this job for 2 summers where I worked at a cemetery.
What?
Yeah.
You worked at a cemetery?
I need to finish the story. I was not digging graves and or helping anything. They had this every season, every summer they would have these people come to the cemetery.
Yeah.
And they would hire local actors and somebody would do all this research upon the person who had died at this tombstone. And then they would hire local actors to memorize a 3-minute monologue. And so people would come up to me and on a little tour, and I'd go, "Hey everybody, my name's Charles Dickens, but my friends called me Cigarette." And then I'd tell like my cool life story about how I died in the bathroom at a train station in Sedalia. And then like I get to do all my parts, wear this period costume. And then I say, "Be careful out there, because old John Barleycorn will get you if you're not careful, just like he got me." You know what John Barleycorn
So
is?
wait, no, who is that?
That's a whiskey.
So wait, you're cosplaying as a dead person that you're going to bury?
I'm the guy on the grave, and
Yeah.
they researched his life and how he died, and then I get to tell that story to people coming by.
So wait, why was that a service?
Because people were interested in who was buried in these places.
Who's paying? Are the customers paying for this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There's like 20 actors. This guy would be an air pilot. This woman would be a local lord.
That seems so bizarre. That's the most American thing.
How many